Hello, Internet, and welcome to another episode of Quiz and Hers, the trivia podcast where we test each other's knowledge and the strength of our relationship in a 10-week battle for trivia glory. My name is Justin, and I am here with my favorite person to learn useless facts with, my fiancée, Hallie.
Thank you. Hello.
If you're new to the podcast, first of all, welcome. Thank you for checking us out. And second of all, here is how the show works. Each week, one of us writes 6 trivia questions for the other person from each of our 6 categories, which are arts and literature, sounds and screen, sports and games, times and places, science, and everything else. Each game has some central theme that all the questions are related to, and after each question, the person who wrote it will spend about 5 minutes discussing the answer so that we can teach each other and you a little bit more about it. Today, I will be asking the questions. We are currently tied coming into the 5th game of Season 3 with 4 correct answers apiece. So today, Hallie, you have the chance to build up a lead, and let's do it.
Okay.
All right. So, this episode is called, This Episode Will Drag On, because all 6 questions... You want to guess?
Dragons?
Yes.
Fun.
All 6 questions are about dragons.
That's fun.
Yep.
I like it.
Yep. All right, so let's do it. Question 1 is science, starting with an easy one here.
Okay.
What large member of the taxonomic family Varanidae is only found on a handful of Indonesian islands?
I'm going to guess it's a Komodo dragon.
Yes, it is a Komodo dragon.
That's the only real dragon out there.
Yes, correct. Komodo dragons are really cool. Or at least that's what I thought until I started reading about them. I thought they were just big old lizards, but they're actually kind of terrifying. There are no large carnivorous mammals on the islands they inhabit, so they're the apex predators in their environments, which means that they fill the same environmental niche as a lion or a great white shark.
Uh-huh.
I'm getting ahead of myself, though. First, the basics. Komodo dragons are found on the Indonesian islands of Rinca, Flores, Gili Motang, Padar, and naturally, Komodo. They are the largest species of lizard in the world. They usually grow to be about 8 feet long, but they can be as large as 10 feet in some cases, and they can weigh up to 150 pounds. So that means that I would have a slight weight advantage if I were ever to fight one, but I'm pretty sure I would still get killed.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend that.
No. Like I said, they belong to the taxonomic family Varanidae, the monitor lizards. They mature about 8 to 9 years after hatching, and they're thought to live to about 30. Their enormous size was once thought to be due to island gigantism, which is a phenomenon in which small species develop larger bodies when they colonize an island and are separated from their mainland cousins.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't fully understand it, but the basic idea is that large mammalian carnivores are not common on islands because they can't swim there in the first place.
Uh-huh.
So those ecological niches get filled by lizards and reptiles, which grow larger. Birds and reptiles, which grow larger. Now, though, it's thought that giant monitor lizards actually originated in Australia. Around 15 million years ago, Australia collided with Southeast Asia, and they migrated to what is now Indonesia. Most of the world's other megafauna, that's a fun word.
Megafauna.
Yes. Died out during the Pleistocene epoch, the last ice age.
That should be like one of the sequels to like The Meg or whatever those movies are called.
Megafauna.
Megafauna.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about the Meg very briefly at the end of this discussion, because I want a Komodo dragon movie bad now.
Okay.
I'll get to that, but yes. So most of the world's other megafauna died out during the Pleistocene epoch, which was the last ice age, in part because early humans hunted them to extinction. So we're talking about woolly mammoths and saber-toothed tigers and these kinds of giant animals that we all killed, right? But I guess our ancestors were smart enough not to fuck with these scaly bastards because they're still around. Okay, now to the fun, crazy, terrifying stuff.
Okay.
Komodo dragons mostly eat carrion, freshly dead animals.
Carrion?
Yes.
How do you spell that?
Carrion.
And that means?
Freshly dead animals.
Oh, I never heard of that.
Yeah,
okay.
It's like what buzzards eat too. They're carrion scavengers.
Right.
Yeah. They can spell...
They can spell? Amazing!
They can smell fresh carrion from up to 6 miles away.
That would be terrifying.
Yes. But they also hunt and ambush live prey. If a wild pig or a deer comes near one, It will charge at high speed, sometimes running on its hind legs using its tail for support. They go for the throat or the underbelly with their vicious claws and try to quickly kill their prey. They will then hold the corpse down with their claws and tear large chunks out of it.
Ew.
Or they'll just swallow the damn thing whole.
Are there like videos of this? Did you see?
Yes. It's terrifying.
I want to see.
They have articulated jaws and expandable stomachs, so they can just hork down food as big as a goat in one go without having to chew it or tear it. The whole process can take up to 20 minutes to swallow a goat, but sometimes they get impatient and, I'm not kidding here, ram into a tree to force the carcass down their throat.
That's disgusting.
Sometimes they knock the fucking tree over.
Oh my god. And you saw a video of this?
Yes, it's amazing.
God. That's insane.
We
should share that with everybody.
Yeah, maybe I'll tweet that out when we release this episode. They eat about 80% of their body weight in a meal, but their metabolism is quite slow, so they can survive on as few as 12 meals a year.
Wow.
Yeah. Like some other monitor lizards, Komodo dragons also produce venom that stops blood clotting and paralyzes muscles to help them bring down their kills. Also, their skin is basically nature's version of chainmail, and the copious saliva that they produce to lubricate their food is usually stained with blood because they tear up their gums as they eat.
Ugh.
I know. I have to say, we get at least one creature horror film a year about a shark.
Exactly.
But there is apparently only one low-budget Australian movie from 1999 in which people are terrorized by bloodthirsty Komodo dragons, despite the fact that these things are basically armored, venomous, blood-spitting dinosaurs capable of running on two legs and swallowing a fucking goat in one go.
Wow.
That movie is called Komodo, and I'd trade The Meg, Deep Blue Sea, and every Jaws sequel to see a big-budget version of that, because it sounds awesome.
Have they ever eaten a person?
So, yeah, occasionally they will attack people, but usually not.
Okay.
I mean, they'll basically attack anything that goes near them, like really close. So basically, don't go close to one unless you know what you're doing.
Have you ever seen one?
In person? Probably at a zoo when I was a kid. I don't know.
Yeah, I did. They have it at the Philadelphia Zoo.
Yeah, I know. They're really popular as zoo attractions because they're giant and crazy looking. So.
What are other monitor lizards? Do you know?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Okay, I was wondering if a Gila monster was related, because for some reason I always feel like those are like the two biggest ones I can think of.
Maybe, I'm not sure.
I don't know.
No. Anyway,
cool.
Yeah, I want a big budget Komodo dragon monster movie. That sounds awesome.
Yes, it does.
Alright, so, question 2, sports and games.
Okay.
The Dayton Dragons are the Class A minor league affiliate of what Major League Baseball team, who are located just 50 miles away from the Dragons' home of Dayton, Ohio?
I don't know, I'm stuck. I'm between Cleveland and Cincinnati, but I have to pick one.
You do have to pick one.
Dayton. Where are you, Dayton? I'll go with the Cleveland Indians.
It's the Cincinnati Reds.
Damn it! I picked the wrong one. Boo!
No, you puzzled out the question the way I expected you to. You just picked the wrong one.
Yeah, that sucks.
Coin came up heads when it should have come up tails.
Yeah, I don't know where Dayton
It's like South Ohio, I think.
I don't even know where Cleveland or Cincinnati is in the map of Ohio, so this isn't
Fair
exactly
enough. I don't
helpful.
really know it that well either. Well,
that wasn't fair.
You got to where you were supposed to get to, and then it was just a coin flip.
Alright, fair enough. Whatever. That's fine.
I mean, you could have said, like, the Boston Red Sox or something, and that would have been a terribly wrong answer.
Well, I know the two teams in Ohio. I'm not that bad.
Right, well, okay, that's where I expected you to get to on that one, then.
Okay.
Alright.
I thought you were going to ask about the New York Dragons.
The arena football team?
Yeah.
No.
I've been to their games. That
No,
was fun.
I didn't. Yeah.
You didn't want to talk about that.
They're long defunct, is probably why I didn't. I'll probably talk about arena football at some point, because it is kind of interesting, and like the history of it is kind of cool.
Yeah, I thought you would talk about it.
I probably will at some point. It's like it was like the first sport to ever be patented, which is kind of weird. Oh. But anyway, that's for another day. But yeah, no. So a few weeks ago, I mentioned I would probably do a discussion about minor league baseball at some point.
Uh-huh.
Well, today is that day.
About Hank Aaron.
Yes, today is that day.
Okay.
Major League Baseball, of course, is comprised of the National League and the American League. Even before the infamous turf war between those two organizations in the early 1900s, there were second-tier leagues, most notably the Northwestern League of 1883 and 1884, though these were not developmental leagues like today. They were a bit like what we now call independent leagues, though they did have an agreement with the majors that they would not raid players from each other's so-called reserve lists, which essentially outlawed free agency.
So there's no free agency like in football?
Well, there is now, but at the time there was not.
Oh, okay.
At the time, baseball teams had what were called reserve lists, which meant that when a contract expired, the team that had had the contract with that player still owned contracting rights for that player in perpetuity. And so the player could either renegotiate a new contract with that team or stop playing. And they could sell those rights to other teams, but the players could not go out and find a new team when their contract was up.
Okay.
So it's called the reserve system or reserve lists.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in response to the feud between the National and American leagues, the minor leagues banded together into the National Association of Professional Baseball Leagues, now known by the trade name Minor League Baseball. The first modern developmental system was originated by Branch Rickey, who was the manager and the general manager of the St. Louis Cardinals. He joined the team in 1916 and was frustrated that wealthier teams could afford to buy the best players from the independently owned minor teams. He had the idea to purchase and directly control minor league clubs at all level of competition, moving players up and down between the different tiers as they developed and, quote, farming their own talent, hence the term farm system, right? It worked. The Cardinals won 9 National League pennants and 6 World Series between the 1920s and the 1940s, making them a bona fide dynasty in the post-World War I era.
Did not know that.
Yeah. Other teams quickly adopted the practice. Nowadays, minor league clubs are not usually directly owned by major league teams. Most of them are independently owned, but they affiliate with a major league team and are largely financially dependent on them. The affiliations take the form of player development contracts, that's what they're called, under which the major league team pays all players and coaches' salaries. In exchange for this financial assistance, the major league team has control over player placement and can move players from one level of competition at will.
So, like, the owner of a baseball team,
a major league team,
also owns the minor league team?
No, not usually. Sometimes. Okay. But for the most part, the minor league teams are independently owned, but they contract with the major league teams with these player development contracts.
Okay.
So the major league teams pay for the players and coaches in the minor leagues, and they can move the players around at will. So the minor league teams basically give up control of their rosters in exchange for the financing.
It's interesting that, like, other sports haven't decided to do this.
Yeah, well, so the NBA has the D League. Actually, now I think they changed it. It's called the G League now because it's sponsored by Gatorade. But that's a yeah, I know. Okay. That's a developmental league, but that is wholly owned by the NBA, I believe. I read a little bit about it, but I ran out of. I ended up not talking about it because it got too long. But yeah, so other sports do have something kind of like this. So the NBA has the G League, and I think each team has like a G League affiliate team that they can move players between. But that league is not its own entity, like it's owned by the NBA, right? Whereas minor league baseball is like its own thing.
Right.
NASCAR has several circuits below the Sprint Cup Series. Actually, I think that might have changed its name now too, and I forget what it is. But below their top level of competition, there are like developmental circuits in NASCAR. So anyway, so some other sports do have this, but not like football and not
hockey.
So hockey has the AHL, which is similar. I was reading about this too, and the details escape me. But the system is a little bit different than baseball, but it's somewhat similar. And they also have like junior leagues and stuff like that in hockey.
Right.
So football is like the major one that doesn't have it because they basically just get their players from the college level. Like basically the NCAA is like football's developmental league.
And then like if you're a college player and you don't make the NFL, you're just done.
Yeah, I mean, there's those other, like, independent football leagues, like the new one that just started called the Alliance of American Football. I haven't watched any of it.
Did it start? I thought they were waiting until after the Super Bowl.
By the time this comes out, it will have started.
Oh, true. Well, you can't have watched it because you're coming from the past.
Yeah, well, it's probably going to be crap.
That would be impressive.
It's probably going to be shit. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Probably.
Yeah. Anyway, so the modern minor league baseball system has 7 levels of competition. So the highest, AAA, is made up of the International League and the Pacific Coast League. The next one down, AA, consists of the Eastern League, the Southern League, and the Texas League. A step down from that is Class A Advanced, also called High A or A+, which is the California, Carolina, and Florida State Leagues. Below this is Class A, or Low A, the Midwest and South Atlantic leagues. Every major league team has an affiliate at each of those 4 levels. The next level down is Class A Short Season, which consists of the New York Penn League and the Northwest League.
They're like really reluctant to go from A to B here. They're like A+++, A++,
Yeah.
A, but like a little less than A.
Yeah.
Like,
so
what
there
the
used to
hell?
be, so I didn't talk about this, but it used to be that it was AA, B, C, and D.
That's what I saw when I was reading about Hank Aaron.
Yeah, but that's not how it is anymore.
Apparently people were too offended about being letters other than A.
I guess, yeah. So, Class A Short Season, as the name suggests, plays a shorter season than the A to AAA levels. Next down below that is Rookie Advanced, which is the Appalachian and Pioneer Leagues, which are stocked with rookie players who are further along in their development than most.
Okay.
Not every major league team has an A Short Season and a Rookie Advanced team, but they all have at least one of the two. Some of them have both. And the lowest level is the Pure Rookie Leagues, the Arizona and Gulf Coast Leagues, and the Dominican Summer League, which is located in the Dominican Republic. Every major league team has at least one rookie team, and many have several. The 2 domestic rookie leagues are often called, quote, complex leagues, because the games are played at their major league club's spring training complexes.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So minor league affiliates are used to develop players, but they're also used to help rehab major league players coming back from injury. Basically get them back on the field at a lower level of competition to tune up before they come back to the majors, right?
That's smart.
Yeah. So where these players are sent is usually a matter of geography rather than level of competition.
Okay.
For instance, because their AAA, AA, and A+ teams are in Kentucky, Tennessee, and Florida, respectively, the Cincinnati Reds often send rehabbing players to the Low A Dayton Dragons. See? I brought it all back around.
Nice. But it's weird. Like, I was thinking that's weird. Like, if it's based just on geography, like, if you get placed in New York, you just have to be that lower level because you're there and not...
It's usually just for a couple weeks.
Oh, okay.
It's just like and it's not as if that player, the major league player, is really there.
But I'm talking about minor league players. It's not for minor league players. Is it not based on geography? It's based on skill level, and then you just have to go wherever that is.
Yes.
Okay, that's.
And so if you get promoted from, say, the Cincinnati Reds A+ to their AA, you just have to move from Florida to Tennessee. That's just what it is.
It's a lot of moving.
Yeah.
I guess they just hope they get the major league and they can stay in one place
for a while. Well, that's always the goal. Yeah.
Right. Okay. That was interesting.
Yeah, I think so. All right, question 3. Everything else.
Okay.
Coming in at a draconic 2.48 million Scoville units, Dragon's Breath is, according to some sources, the second most potent cultivar of what fruit?
Fruit?
Mm-hmm.
But no fruits are spicy. Then it wouldn't be a fruit. Wait, is this just pepper? Is the answer just pepper?
Is that your answer?
I don't know. I'm nervous to just say pepper. That feels risky. I'm afraid to be more... Will you prompt me if I need to be more specific?
Yes.
Okay, pepper. Chili? Chili pepper?
Yes.
Okay, thank
you.
you.
Chili pepper. Yeah. Pepper also refers to like peppercorns, which are different.
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, but
sorry.
Chili peppers, yes.
Yay.
Yeah.
Scoville. Doesn't the Scoville scale only apply to peppers?
Yes, I'm going to talk about it.
Okay. This is what I get for watching so much Food Network.
Yeah. So the Dragon's Breath pepper was bred by Neil Price in collaboration with Nottingham Trent University. Price was from Wales and named the pepper after the Welsh dragon.
Huh.
It was later cultivated and further developed by Mike Smith. It was originally developed with the aim of using its essential oil as a topical numbing agent for people who are allergic to traditional skin anesthetics. It is not meant to be... Yes, exactly. It is not meant to be eaten, which makes sense because, as I said, it measures 2.48 million Scoville units.
Put that in context.
That's exactly what I'm about to do. Named for American pharmacist Wilbur Scoville, who developed it, the Scoville heat scale is basically a measure of the concentration of capsaicinoids, mainly capsaicin, in a chili pepper. Capsaicinoids are the chemical compounds that make food spicy. Spiciness isn't actually a taste because we don't have taste receptors that respond to capsaicinoids. Instead, they activate the temperature receptors on our tongue. So our bodies literally interpret capsaicin and its sister compounds as being hot, and if the concentration is high enough, painful.
I was going to say, don't, the pain receptors respond to capsaicin? I feel like that's what I learned.
Well, so the temperature receptors will send pain signals if the temperature is hot enough.
Oh, okay.
Right? But the capsaicin chemically activates them instead of activating them by temperature.
Right.
And so it basically tricks your body into feeling hot heat and if it's high enough, pain.
It's like the opposite is like menthol.
Yes. Which
I think that's so cool.
activates cold receptors. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yep. So to illustrate how ridiculously searing hot the dragon's breath pepper is, a jalapeno pepper maxes out at about 8,000 Scoville units. The famously scorching habanero and Scotch bonnet peppers are about 350,000. The mythical ghost pepper measures about 1 million. According to the Guinness Book of World Records, the reigning champion of unnecessarily spicy peppers is the awesomely named Carolina Reaper at about 2.2 million.
And what is this one?
2.48 million.
So it's more.
The Dragon's Breath pepper is too new to make the record books.
Oh.
Initial tests put it at 2.48 million Scoville units, putting it in second place behind the equally new Pepper X, which initial testing puts at a volcanic 3.18 million. These initial
Do you think you
results,
would just like end up in the hospital if you put a drop of that on your tongue?
So I was actually reading an interview with the guy Mike Smith who helped to cultivate the Dragon's Breath. He said that he tried, like he cut a piece and he touched it to the tip of his tongue, and he spit it out and he was just like coughing for like 10 minutes.
Oh my god.
I know.
That's horrifying.
Yeah.
I can't handle much more than a jalapeno.
I love spicy food, but this is insane. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it when it's like an enjoyable level of spice.
Right.
Or balanced or whatever. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not one of those crazy people.
Thrill seekers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no,
me neither. So those initial results need to be independently verified before the record books can be rewritten.
Mm-hmm.
Interestingly, bell peppers are in fact chili peppers, but they have a recessive allele that blocks the production of capsaicin, which is why they have no spiciness and rate a 0 on the Scoville scale.
And they're delicious.
They are. So, a bit about chili peppers more broadly. The term refers to 5 different species of the genus Capsicum, and the word derives from Nahuatl, the language of the Aztecs, who we talked about recently.
Throwback.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I feel like this is getting a little science-y.
Well, it's food.
Okay, fine.
I mean, I'm talking about the history and the science and the etymology and all of that.
I've been noticing recently that a lot of my topics just spread into other categories because the world is just too complicated to fit into these
Well, of course, yeah.
specific categories, but I try.
Yeah, that's fine. And, like, you know, some of the history ones end up also, some of the science ones also end up having some history in them, you know,
Yeah.
because of the history of whatever you're talking about. So, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they are technically fruits, berries to be precise, and humans have been eating them since about 7500 BC. They were also one of the first plants to be cultivated instead of harvested from the wild in the Americas, with records of chilies being farmed in modern-day Mexico 6,000 years ago.
Cool.
They spread from the Americas to Europe after Columbus's voyages at the end of the 15th century, and from there into Asia soon after. Today there are over 70 unique varieties, or cultivars, though as I said, they all belong to the same 5 species. Nutritional value differs among cultivars, but at least some of them contain high concentrations of vitamin C, beta-carotene, and vitamin B6. Not to mention, they're delicious. I got so hungry while I was researching this.
And what's your favorite type of chili?
Calabrian chilies, probably.
Yeah.
They're delicious.
Yeah, they're good.
In addition to their widespread culinary uses, chilies also have other applications. The plants are often used ornamentally, and they can be used to produce analgesics, as I said. The reason this works is that the temperature receptors in the skin are activated by the capsaicin and tell the brain that the skin is being burned. This engages the body's pain-regulating mechanisms, numbing the area. All the pain relief with none of the actual tissue damage. That could be the slogan.
Okay, you can start their marketing campaign.
Capsaicin is also the active ingredient in pepper spray and tear gas.
Right.
Side note, military-grade pepper spray measures about 2 million units on the Scoville scale, meaning that the Carolina Reaper, Dragon's Breath, and Pepper X are actually more potent than pepper spray. They are more potent than military-grade pepper spray.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
They should, sell their peppers to the military.
Yeah, no, I'm sure that that's something that will happen, is the next generation of pepper spray will be developed from these peppers.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy, though.
Oh, that sounds so horrible. Now I'm thinking about that.
Yeah, I know. Imagine, getting it in your eye. That's what that is. Horrible.
Would you be able to ever see again?
Yeah, no, you recover from it.
You do.
Pepper spray is non-lethal. It's meant to incapacitate.
Right.
It was the successor to mace, because mace, a lot of people had allergic reactions to.
Oh.
Most people are not allergic to chili peppers. It just makes you feel like you're going to die.
Luckily, I've never had to use that.
Yeah, well.
Crazy.
Yeah, it is. Okay. Question 4. Arts and literature. A nameless dragon is the third opponent battled by the title character of what epic poem, which was written in Old English but set in Scandinavia?
Boop. I have a couple guesses for things I know very little about.
Okay.
I'm just gonna guess Faust. Is that the right word? Faust.
Is that your answer?
Sure.
It's Beowulf.
Oh, I was between the two and I couldn't decide.
Faust.
What is Faust?
Totally different. Faust is the story of the guy who makes a deal with the devil.
Oh, I was between that one and Beowulf, and then I was like, I feel like Beowulf is not it. I don't know why. I didn't know. I was between the two.
It's Beowulf.
Damn.
Yeah, so I had to read Beowulf in, I think, 8th grade, and I fucking hated it. But trivia buffs need to know about stuff they don't like, too, so here we go.
Yep.
We don't know exactly when Beowulf was composed, but it was probably between the 8th and 11th centuries. But it is set in the 6th century, when the Anglo-Saxons had recently begun immigrating to England, but were still in contact with their kinsmen in Germany and Scandinavia. The original author of the poem is unknown, but it was definitely written in what is now England, because it is primarily written in West Saxon, which is a dialect of Old English, with some Anglian dialect mixed in as well. It's written in a form called alliterative verse, in which the number of syllables varies from line to line, and the first half of a line is linked to the second by alliterating their first sounds. It also makes extensive use of kennings, which are a figure of speech that replace a single word noun with a hyphenated two-word metaphor. For example, blood becomes battle sweat, and corpse becomes raven harvest. This is a very common literary device in Old English literature.
Uh-huh.
The oldest text of Beowulf, called the Noel Codex, dates to between 975 and 1025. The epic had no title in this original manuscript, but has come to be known for its title character.
I thought it was about a wolf.
No, he's a warrior. I'll talk about it.
I never actually read it, so
It's bad.
what do I know?
It's bad, don't read it.
I'm not.
I'm going to give you the plot summary in a second, so you won't have to read it anyway.
Okay, thank you.
The codex takes its name from Lawrence Noel, a 16th century scholar who probably acquired the manuscript in 1563. It currently resides in the British Library, the National Library of the UK. So the poem begins in medias res, with the monster Grendel. That's a fun phrase. Do you know that phrase?
What phrase?
In medias res?
No.
It's Latin for in the middle of things. Literary scholars use it for a story that starts before the beginning. It's like a story that just jumps in with the events already happening.
Oh, okay.
It's called starting in medias res.
I can't think of anything like that.
Well, here's one.
Yeah.
So the poem begins with the monster Grendel attacking Heorot, the great hall of Hrothgar, the king of the Danes, who inhabited the islands that are now a part of Denmark, but not Jutland, which belonged to the Jutes.
Hey, that was in my first ever episode?
That's right. If you're unfamiliar with the geography of Denmark, go have a listen to episode 2 when Hallie talked about it. Yep. Anyway, Grendel was a troll or demon said to be descended from the biblical figure Cain. He hates the joyful sounds of singing and celebration coming from Heorot, so he stops by and eats a bunch of Hrothgar's warriors as they're sleeping.
Okay.
The remaining Danish warriors flee. Beowulf is a young warrior who belongs to a tribe called the Geats, who inhabit what is now southern Sweden. He hears about the attack and sets out to aid the Danes. Beowulf and his men spend the night in Heorot, and Grendel shows up to attack them. Beowulf refuses to use a sword because he just brazenly assumes that he is Grendel's physical equal. His men draw their swords, but find that they cannot pierce Grendel's skin, which kind of makes Beowulf's arrogant shitheadery a moot point. Anyway, he tears off Grendel's arm, and the monster runs home to die. The next night, Grendel's mother attacks Heorot, seeking revenge, and kills a loyal Danish warrior. Beowulf tracks her to her lair beneath a lake where they battle one another. He finds a sword in the cave where she lives and decapitates her with it. He then ventures deeper into the cave and finds Grendel's body, which he also beheads, because why not?
Jeez.
He returns to Heorot.
How come they couldn't pierce him with their swords, but they can chop the head off?
Presumably, look, I don't know.
Okay. No, this doesn't make sense.
No, none of this makes any sense. I don't know.
Why is it a classic thing?
Because it's like the oldest work of Old English literature that we have an extant copy of.
I thought it was Chaucer.
What? This is way older than Chaucer. Chaucer was like 1400s.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And that wasn't Old English either. It was like early modern English.
Oh, okay, fine.
Yeah. So that's why it's so well known.
All right.
He returns to Heorot after decapitating Grendel's mother and then the already dead Grendel. He returns to Heorot where there is much rejoicing, but Hrothgar warns him about the dangers of pride. Yeah, too late there, buddy. Beowulf returns home and eventually becomes king of the Geats. Some 50 years later, a slave steals a golden cup from the treasure hoard of a dragon, and the dragon loses its shit, spitting fire at everything in sight. Beowulf and his men set out to battle it, but Beowulf, in typical Beowulf fashion, tells his warriors, "Nah, I got this," and goes it alone. He is no match for the dragon, and his men flee, with the exception of Wiglaf, who charges to his king's aid and helps him slay the dragon.
Go Wiglaf.
Yeah. Beowulf is mortally wounded in the fight, and Wiglaf blames the other men, and not Beowulf's dragon-sized ego, for his death. Beowulf, in one last act of pompous self-aggrandizement, instructs his people to burn him on a funeral pyre and construct a great earthen mound visible for miles in his honor. Douchebag.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's like the most unlikable protagonist of anything I've ever read. I can't stand him.
Really?
Yeah.
Did other people in your class like it?
No.
Why'd they make you read it? Just because?
I guess. I don't know.
I think by the time I got to high school, the teachers had all realized it wasn't worth it. I feel like my parents' generation all had to read it.
Yeah, I think this was like 8th grade that I read it. I might be wrong, though. I don't know.
Sounds horrible.
It was a long time ago.
I read To Kill a Mockingbird in 8th grade.
I read that in 9th grade, I think.
Oh.
It's a great book.
That is a great book.
Much better than Beowulf.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you're 2 for 4 at the moment, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay. Question 5, sounds and screen. What late martial artist and actor was born in 1940, the year of the dragon, starred in Way of the Dragon and Enter the Dragon, and was nicknamed the Dragon?
Is it Bruce Lee?
It is Bruce Lee.
Yay!
Nice.
I feel like we talked about him on this podcast.
Did we?
I feel like he came up because I think you told me that. Or maybe it just came up in life. You must have just told me this
Probably.
at some point and
Yeah.
then forgot.
Probably. So Bruce Lee was born on November 27th, 1940, not just in the year of the dragon, but also the hour of the dragon, which is 7 to 9 o'clock a.m. So I didn't realize this, but the Chinese zodiac, all of them also correspond to a 2-hour period of the day.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I didn't know that. So it's considered especially auspicious if you're born in the year of the dragon and the hour of the dragon.
Wow, are you born in the year of the dragon?
I am. 1988 was the year of the dragon.
Oh crap, I forget what I am. Now I have to know.
I checked. I think you're the goat.
I think so too, because I'm also a Capricorn.
Yeah. No, I think because the year you were born, most of it was the year of the monkey.
Yes.
But since it starts in February and your birthday's in January, I'm pretty sure you're still technically in the year of the goat.
Yeah, I remember that because the whole time I thought I was the monkey because all my friends were the monkey, but then I wasn't. It was confusing.
No, I looked this up as I was reading about this, so I'm almost sure that's what it was.
But it's funny because I'm also a Capricorn.
Yeah.
So I must be some sort of goat personality. I don't know what that means.
It means you're the greatest of all time, clearly.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
Although he was born in San Francisco's Chinatown, his family moved back to their native Hong Kong when he was raised there. He began studying traditional Chinese martial arts, usually called wushu or kung fu, when he was young, after losing several fights to local gang members.
Aww.
He continued getting into fights on the streets, and even though he was never arrested, his father later told a story about a policeman warning him that if Bruce got into one more fight, he would have to put him in jail. That, and the fact that there may have been a hit put out on him because he once beat the shit out of a young member of a prominent triad family,
Oh my god.
led his parents to send the 18-year-old Bruce back to the U.S. to live with his sister.
Was he born Bruce, or does he have a Chinese name?
He does have a Chinese name, but he actually had a few Chinese names that they called him as well.
Oh, okay. Just wondering.
Yep. And actually, I didn't mention this, but another dragon connection, his Hong Kong screen name, not screen name, but what do you call it, like, stage name.
Oh, I was like, on AOL Instant
No,
Messenger? or...
the name that he performed under when he was in Hong Kong action films translates to Little Dragon, which is kind of cool.
Oh, that is cool.
Yeah. So anyway, after a few months in San Francisco, he moved to Seattle to attend the University of Washington. It was there that he met his future wife, Linda Lee Caldwell, with whom he had 2 children, Brandon and Shannon. Lee had already appeared in 20 films by this point, because his father was a famous opera singer and actor in Hong Kong.
Did not know that.
Yeah. He was literally an infant in his first film role.
Wow.
But he was focusing on martial arts, not acting, when in 1964, television producer William Dozier discovered him in a martial arts exhibition in Long Beach. He landed the role of Kato, sidekick to Van Williams's Green Hornet, in the TV show of the same name.
Cool.
Fun side note, they also appeared in a crossover with the Adam West Batman TV series, also produced by Dozier.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. The Green Hornet series only lasted 1 season, and Lee found himself unemployed, so he opened a martial arts school. It was there that he developed his own unique style, which he called Jeet Kune Do, the way of the intercepting fist. Unlike traditional styles, which he considered too rigid for chaotic street fights, Jeet Kune Do was built around practicality, flexibility, speed, and efficiency, in his own words. After playing some supporting roles in the US, he went back to Hong Kong, where he was surprised to learn that the Green Hornet was very popular, and had come to be called The Kato Show. So he was, apparently super famous in Hong Kong and didn't even realize it until he went back there. His first starring role was in the 1971 Hong Kong action film The Big Boss, which was massively successful and rocketed Lee to international stardom. His next project was Fist of Fury, which performed even better. His third film, Way of the Dragon, was entirely his, as he wrote, directed, starred, and choreographed the fight scenes.
Was it in English or Chinese?
So it was a Hong Kong film. It was in Chinese, but it was dubbed into English.
Okay.
Because he spoke both Chinese and English.
Okay.
So he
I know
did,
it's not Chinese, it's
Mandarin.
Mandarin, not
Yeah,
Chinese.
Right. So he did his own. Actually, it might be Cantonese in Hong Kong. Actually,
I have no clue.
Anyway, he did his own ADRing of the dialogue for his films.
Okay.
He would do the English translations.
Yeah.
Way of the Dragon is also notable as Chuck Norris's film debut. Lee had met Norris in 1964 at a martial arts demonstration and cast him as his adversary in Way of the Dragon. So it must have been at least partially in English then, if Chuck Norris was in it.
True. I don't see Chuck Norris learning Mandarin.
No, probably not. He started working on his next project, Game of Death, but filming was discontinued when Warner Brothers came knocking and offered him the starring role in Enter the Dragon. 6 days before its 1973 release, Lee unexpectedly died at the age of 32.
What? How did I not know this?
Yeah. The cause of death was cerebral edema, perhaps brought on by an allergic reaction to the painkiller Equagesic.
I've never heard of that. That's horrible.
I know. After his death, director Robert Clouse controversially finished Game of Death using a look-alike body double and stock footage from his other films. The finished film contained only 15 minutes of actual Bruce Lee. But it's kind of amazing that he achieved that level of bankable popularity in just 2 years.
Yeah, that's so sad. Think of what he could have been.
I know, it's terrible. So I want to close by mentioning that Bruce's son Brandon is that Brandon Lee, who followed in his father's footsteps and became a martial artist and actor, and also died terribly young at age 28.
Jeez.
He is, of course, best known for starring in The Crow and dying in a tragic accident on set. And holy shit, I never put together that he was Bruce Lee's son.
I don't even know who this is, but that's horrible.
Brandon Lee, he was the Crow.
I don't know what that is, but that's terrible.
Yeah, so he died in an accident on set. They had a prop gun, and a dummy round had gotten stuck in the chamber. And so when they went to fire the blank, it propelled the dummy round into him, and he just died on set.
Oh my god, that's
he just
horrible.
got shot and died, yeah.
Wow, that's terrible.
I know. So, and yeah, he was Bruce Lee's son, which I never put together.
Wow,
Yeah.
jeez. That was sad.
Yeah. All right, last one, question 6, times and places. So you're 3 for 5, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What is the English name for the small Himalayan nation that is known in its official language as Druk Yul, meaning country of the dragon people or land of the thunder dragon, and which features a dragon on its flag?
Nepal?
Is that your answer?
Sure.
It's not Nepal.
What is it?
It's Bhutan.
Oh, Thimphu.
That is the capital. Yep, we'll get to that.
Oh.
So, the Kingdom of Bhutan is a small landlocked nation in the Himalayas, bordered by India and China, specifically the Tibet Autonomous Region. Bhutan comes up a lot more often in trivia than you'd expect a relatively unfamiliar nation with a population of less than 1 million to, because it holds a lot of pretty unique historical and cultural distinctions. So, let's learn about the land of the Thunder Dragon, shall we?
Okay.
Alright. A lot of the early history of Bhutan is lost because the ancient capital Punakha suffered a fire in 1827, which destroyed a lot of records. The area was probably first inhabited around 2000 BC, and Buddhism, which would become a hugely important part of Bhutanese national identity, was first introduced to the area in the 7th century AD. Despite some skirmishes with British India, which culminated in the Duar War of 1864 to 1865, Bhutan was never colonized by European powers, which is pretty amazing. It endured a period of civil unrest and war in the 1870s and 1880s. In 1907, the victor in those wars, Ugyen Wangchuck, was chosen as the hereditary king of Bhutan, and his descendants have held the Bhutanese throne and the incredibly awesome title Druk Gyalpo, or Dragon King, ever since.
Cool.
I want to be the Dragon King. It's fucking awesome.
Good luck with that.
Bhutan was also one of the first countries to recognize India's independence from the United Kingdom in 1949. In 1955, Punakha was replaced as the capital by Thimphu, as you mentioned, which has the unusual and very quiz-worthy distinction of being the only national capital in the world without a single traffic light.
That's funny.
Yeah. Instead, police officers direct traffic, though in a city of about 115,000 people, there probably isn't a ton of it anyway. An ethnic conflict in the 1990s saw the Lhotshampa ethnic group, which constituted anywhere from 20 to 45% of the entire population, I saw different numbers as I was reading about this, forcibly expelled from Bhutan.
Wow.
Most have resettled in new countries, but many remain refugees. But it's Bhutan's recent history that is probably most interesting. Bhutan has been pushing to modernize over the past couple of decades. TV and the internet were banned until 1999, making Bhutan one of the last countries on Earth to adopt television. And it remained an absolute monarchy until 2008, when it transitioned to a constitutional monarchy and elected its first national assembly. The 5th and current Dragon King is among the youngest monarchs in the world. Bhutan also pioneered the concept of gross national happiness. Rather than gross domestic product, which measures a country's economic output, Bhutan measures its success according to the reported happiness and well-being of its citizens.
I've heard of this.
Yeah. The term was coined in 1972 by Bhutan's then king, and is enshrined in the 2008 constitution as the highest goal of the Bhutanese government. The UN has since urged other nations to follow Bhutan's lead in measuring and promoting happiness among their citizens.
But that's very Western.
What?
Of them.
What is?
To even care that much about happiness. Like, from what I've heard and read about happiness, that's a very Western thing to even strive for. Not even just Western, but, like, very American. Like,
not really.
That's what I've heard. Like, other, like, people, even, like, in Europe or wherever, like, they don't focus so much on just, like, being happy as the ultimate goal.
No, not really. People define happiness differently depending on their culture, but, I mean, everybody wants to be happy.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying they don't want to be happy, but that's what I heard. Like Americans put too much emphasis on it, and that's why we're more stressed. I don't know. This is what I heard.
I don't think so.
Okay, fine. I guess I'm wrong.
And one last interesting fact. Bhutan is probably home to the world's tallest unclimbed mountain. It's impossible to verify that any mountain has never been summited, but at an elevation of 24,836 feet, Gangkar Puensum is a strong candidate for the highest peak that has never been scaled. And it probably never will be, because mountains higher than 18,000 feet are off limits to climbers in Bhutan, as they are considered sacred. So, to recap the most trivia-relevant stuff: never colonized, Thimphu doesn't have any traffic lights, late to modernize, gross national happiness, highest unclaimed mountain, dragon flag, dragon people, dragon king, land of the thunder dragon. Actual dragons, probably. Probably not.
Probably not. They're on top of that mountain. That's why no one can go up there.
Yeah, right. That's where the dragons live.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is the end of that game. You got 3, so you're now up 7-4. Not bad.
Yep.
So we'll be back next week with another set of questions that Hallie will write for me. In the meantime, if you enjoy the show and you want to get in touch, you can email us. We're quizandhers@gmail.com. You can also follow us and interact with us on social media. We are at quizandhers on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Yep.
If you like the show, maybe tell a friend about it and get someone else into it. We really appreciate that. That's really how the show grows, is word of mouth.
Yep. We're on
And
YouTube.
what?
We're on YouTube.
That's right. I keep forgetting that. We're on YouTube now. All of our episodes are up. Just search Quiz and Hers. You'll find it if you like your podcasts with some static images behind them for some reason. And yeah, if you like the show, make sure to like and subscribe on whatever podcast app you prefer. Leave us a review. That really does help to get the show out there and get us some more exposure. And I guess that's it.
Yep.
All right. So we'll be back next week. So until then, we will say goodbye.
Bye.
He was focusing on martial arts, not acting, when in 1964, television producer William Dozier discovered him in a martial arts exhibition in... I'm going to do that again. Oh, God.
That just went off the rails.
Yeesh.